And a very good Monday morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is, everyone. Benigno back with you again, the Yoda Pain Podcast. Monday, it is September 8th, 2025. The Joe Benigno The Pain Podcast brought to you by the Hackensack Brewing Company, by Anita Discount Tire, and our newest sponsor, the Carolina Resort Vacation. All right, we'll start with this. I'll try to do the positives first as the Jets lose 34-32 yesterday to Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers in a game they really should have won. I mean, there's no question about it. I'll start with the positives first. This looked like a professional football team yesterday. And that's something that we can't have, haven't always been able to say over the last number of years. Aaron Glenn, at least in his first game, he made a couple mistakes. The first drive of the game, the Jets went right down the field. They had a 3rd and 11 in the red zone. And instead of throwing the ball, he ran the ball up the middle with Isaiah Davis, basically playing for a field goal. Now, that bothered me. Also, he took a timeout on a 2-point conversion, which came back to bite him. Late in the game, when they had the ball with a chance to win it, they only had one timeout left. I thought those were the two negatives of the day as far as Aaron Glenn was concerned. But they look like a professional football team, and the offense was great yesterday. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Justin Fields had a terrific game. He really did. Does this mean we have a franchise quarterback for the next 10 years? No. No, there's a lot of football to be played, but he was good yesterday. Threw the ball well, ran the ball well, threw a touchdown pass to Garrett Wilson, ran for 2 touchdowns himself. I thought Fields played an outstanding game. I really, really did. And I thought the offense in general was great. I thought the offensive line, even without the always injured Elijah Vera Tucker, really had a good game yesterday. They ran the ball effectively. They ran for 180 plus yards in this game. I don't know if they ran for 180 yards in 2 games last year with the running game. Brees Hall over 100 yards, looked great. Caught a pass for about 33 yards as well. I like to see him a little more in the passing game. Only two passes to him, but he was terrific yesterday. They ran the ball great. Like I said, the offensive line terrific. Garrett Wilson 7 for 95 and a touchdown. Dropped that pass in the end of the game, which would have been a first down and kept the game going. He got blasted by Jalen Ramsey on the play. Never saw him coming. Didn't hold on to it. Should have held on to it. But, look, it was what it was. I thought Fields could have actually ran for the first down on that play, but he made the right choice. Wilson just didn't hold on to the balls. He got clobbered. Look, very tough loss, no doubt about it. But the bottom line is you just can't make mistakes. And the Jets made too many mistakes yesterday. And that's what cost them the game. We mentioned that 3rd and 11 run and settling for 3 points on that first drive. Obviously, Nick Folk missing an extra point was huge. It set in motion the Jets chasing points all day. They decided to go after Folk missed that extra point. There was a penalty on the Steelers. It moved the ball to the 1-yard line. Glenn decided to go for 2, which I was okay with, but they didn't get it. And again, it goes back to Nick Folk missing the extra point. If he makes the extra point there like he should, it's a moot point on a 2-point conversion, and that forced them to be chasing points all day. Obviously, a big penalty on Quincy Williams when he hit a guy out of bounds on what would have been a 2 or 3 yard loss. It turns into a 15-yard penalty. The Steelers go down and score off of that penalty. That can happen. That was a huge play in the game, no doubt about it. And you don't expect it from your best defensive player. The fumble, obviously, on a kickoff by Xavier Gibson you can't have that. And that was a killer. The Steelers capitalized. The Jets were up 2 points at that point. He fumbles, and it turns into a Steeler touchdown. That's the kind of thing you cannot have. And this is the kind of stuff that killed him. There were very few. I think there was only 2 pre-snap penalties in the game. The Jets had a delay of game penalty that didn't hurt them. They had 1 false start in the game that really didn't hurt them. I thought overall they did a good job. There was no holding penalties that I can remember. There was no defensive holding penalties or anything like that. No personal fouls on the defensive side of the football. Simpson had that one personal foul, but I thought that was a good thing because there was a couple times in this game where Justin Fields, I thought, got blasted, and there should have been, roughing the passer calls, and they didn't call it.
Nope. Why would they?
As my wife goes, why would they? But there was a couple of them, and one of them, Simpson, the offensive lineman, went right at the stealer that blasted Fields. I actually liked that. It was right before halftime. Really didn't hurt the Jets at all in that situation. So I thought they played a relatively clean game, but the couple of mistakes really hurt them. The missed extra point, the penalty on Quincy Williams, the fumble, obviously, by Xavier Gibson. You just can't have that. But the offense, they didn't turn the ball over. Like I said, they ran the ball well. Fields had a terrific game. Breece Hall, terrific game. Garrett Wilson, outside of the last play of the game, had a terrific game. You got to be happy with that. You got to love what you saw from this offensive line, especially in the running game. There's no question about it. Membo had a big game. Fassanu did get beat once with J.J. Watt going right around him for a hit on Fields. I think it was a sack on that play. Outside of that, I thought he played well. I thought, like I said, the offensive line played really well. On the defensive side of the football, I thought the defensive line played really well. They got after Rodgers. Will McDonald had a couple sacks. They had 4 sacks in the game overall. Quinnen Williams had a solid game. Now, there were moments when Williams was not in the game, which I didn't understand, why he was on the sidelines at certain points in the game. But, I thought overall defensive line played well. Linebackers played pretty well outside of the Williams penalty. The secondary stunk. I thought Sauce Gardner played decent, but the secondary was terrible. Stevens had a bad game. There was an interception that he could have caught. He was on his back, but the ball hit him in the hands. Michael Carter had an interception that he probably should have made that he didn't. And that's one of the big things with this team. They don't force turnovers. Pittsburgh did not turn the ball over. The Jets did. And that's really the difference in the game. I mean, you could really go down to that one play, the fumble by Gibson, and the fact that the Steelers didn't turn the ball over. And that's, the difference in a 2-point loss. Obviously, the extra point by Folk and missing the 2-point conversion. And the fact that, they actually called a timeout on the second 2-point conversion. There actually was a timeout called by Aaron Glenn, which was hurt him in the last drive of the game. Only had one timeout left, and it was a terrible play. They threw the ball, a fade pattern in the back of the end zone to Garrett Wilson when he was triple teamed. He had no chance to catch the ball. So I thought that, I hate chasing points, but that's what happens when you miss an extra point. That's what happens. And maybe he could have kicked that extra point there instead of going for 2. I know the analytics say when you're on a 1-yard line, go for 2. Didn't love the play call there, whatever. They didn't get it. And it is what it is. They basically ran up the middle with Braylon Allen, who didn't do much. He did score a touchdown on a nice 7-yard run. It was really Breece Hall running the football all day yesterday. And also Fields, who rushed for about 48 yards as well. And I mentioned the 2 touchdowns, that one beautiful bootleg that he ran in for the score and all of that. So, look, there's no moral victories in the NFL. We all know that. You got to win the game. I mean, that's it. You got to win. And the Jets didn't win in a game they probably should have won. And what else can I say? But, look, like I said, the offense, there was a lot of positives by the offense. I thought Aaron Glenn, I thought the offensive coordinator, Ergstad, however you say his name, did a real good job. I really had no complaints about the play calling in this game. It came down to a couple mistakes, and that's a team like the Jets cannot make mistakes and win football games. And it came back again to bite him yesterday. As far as Rodgers is concerned, he played great, and I expected it. He threw 4 touchdown passes. One was just that little flip to Jonnu Smith that they scored near the goal line, but that counts as a pass. You knew Rodgers was going to have a big game. I mean, if you didn't think Rodgers was going to play well, then you're crazy. You really are. And he's going to have a big season in Pittsburgh. They're going to make the playoffs. I don't think there's any doubt about it. So, thank God it's over with. I know Rodgers had things to say about the organization afterwards. What do you expect? You think he was going to praise him after they let him go like they did? So, it is what it is. Again, a game the Jets should have won, but a lot of positives in this game. Now we'll see what happens going forward. They got the Bills coming in next week. Buffalo coming back last night to knock off the Ravens 41-40 in a crazy game in Buffalo. I'm actually happy that the Bills won last night, to be honest with you. I really am. You're happy they won. They won last night. You want them coming in on a win rather than not having won a game. Everybody else in the division lost. Miami got whacked by the Colts 33-8. I think it's gonna be a rough year for the Dolphins. How about Daniel Jones? He had a big game yesterday. The Colts scored on every possession they had the football yesterday in blowing out Miami. The Patriots lost to Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, and the Raiders up in New England 20-13. So, Buffalo's the only team in the division to win, and the Jets get a shot at them next week. And we'll see, we'll see. A lot of positives yesterday, but there's no moral victories in the NFL, and the Jets lost a football game, and that's really all that matters as far as what happened on the field yesterday. So we'll see what happens next week, and we'll move on from there. But overall, offense looked really good. Defensive line played well. Secondary stunk. You heard Aaron Glenn after the game basically say, look, if you're going to make mistakes, you're not going to play. And I don't know if he's going to bench Quincy Williams. I doubt he's going to do that. But, Xavier Gibson, can you find somebody else to return a kick, please? And I didn't think, look, there was some decent returns. By the way, this rule now in the NFL that if it's a touchdown, you get the ball on a 35-yard line, come on. Give me a freaking break. You might as well give him the ball at midfield. It's nonsense. Can we go back to the days when if it's a touchback, you get the ball on a 20-yard line? Can we do that again? Can we please do that again? Unbelievable. Like I said, the missed extra point hurt him. Folk did make 2 field goals. He did make a 51-yard field goal as well in this football game. But tough loss. I don't know what else to say. And it is what it is. And like I said, expect the Steelers to be good. Expect Rodgers to have a big year in Pittsburgh. Who would think otherwise? But Fields was good. Breece Hall good. Offensive line good. Play calling good. Defensive line good. Mistakes unacceptable. Terrible in the secondary. And that's the story in a very entertaining and crazy 34-32 loss to Pittsburgh yesterday in Aaron Glenn's debut. But based on one game, you could see the difference in the head coach. You could see that this team, they were a much better coach team than they have been in recent years under Saleh and Gaze and Bowles and all the way down the line. So we'll see where we go. A lot of football yet to be played, and at least we look like we got a representative NFL team, if nothing else, going forward. All right, Benigno, the Yoda Pain podcast. Didn't see much of anything else yesterday. I got to tell you, I did watch a little of the red zone at the end. The Giants got whacked yesterday, 21-6 by the Commanders. Not a good game for Russell Wilson. That the clamoring for Jackson Dart is going to come fast and furious. Now, he's not going to play probably this week against Dallas, but it's coming. As the Giants could not get the ball in the end zone yesterday, had to settle for 2 field goals. We'll see where they go from here. But they lose yesterday, 21-6 to Washington. Like I said, the crazy 41-40 victory last night by Buffalo over the Ravens in a crazy game up in Buffalo. As I said, everybody else in the division but the Bills lost yesterday. The NFC East, Dallas lost, Philly won, and Washington won. So the Giants start their season at 0-1, and they play the Cowboys in Dallas next week. And then, of course, they got the Chiefs in their home opener. Not an easy start, not an easy schedule to start the season for the football Giants as they lose, as I said yesterday, 21-6 to the Washington should-be Redskin Commanders. All right, let's get the sponsors in here. We'll let you know when the next live podcast at the Hackensack Brewing Company is. I don't know. We'll let you know when that is. You need work done on your car. You need tires, whatever you need. You need your car inspected. Go check out Anita Discount Tire in beautiful Rivervale, New Jersey, Westwood Avenue. They will take care of you. See my son Johnny, see Ari, see Rob, one of their outstanding mechanics. We just got some work done on the car last week. They did a great job. The price was right. So that as well, when you go to Anita, check them out. Tell them Benigno sent you. Again, Anita Discount Tire, Rivervale, New Jersey, Westwood Avenue. Now, our latest sponsor is the Carolina Resort Vacation. My family was down there. Aaron was down there with the kids. Johnny was down there with his son. They had a great time down at Myrtle Beach. My wonderful granddaughter and her boyfriend, they were here yesterday as well. My grandson and all of that. Check it out. And it's, plan your next getaway at North Myrtle Beach. If you're looking for the perfect vacation spot, check out Carolina Resort OBLV Unit 2 in beautiful North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. They have it all. They got 5 spacious bedrooms, each with a private en suite bathroom. Tremendous, convenient, all of that. Fully stocked kitchen, ready for family meals or group cooking nights. Arcade-style gaming table with 150 plus classic games. Smart TVs in every room, entertainment for everyone. Just seconds away from the beach, minutes from the Barefoot Landing, mini golf, Ripley's Aquarium, and the Myrtle Beach Boardwalk. All the golf down there that you could possibly want. Unbelievable. It's a freshly renovated, spotless, and spacious unit. Perfect for family trips, as I said, group getaways, relaxing retreat by the ocean. Whether you're soaking up the sun, exploring local attractions, or just enjoying time together, OBLV Unit 2, Carolina Resort Vacation, makes every trip unforgettable. Again, it's 843-249-6509, 843-249-6509, or visit Carolina Resorts Realty.com. Check it out. They do a great job. To learn more and start planning your trip today. And we thank them for being our latest and newest sponsor to the podcast. Now, as far as the baseball yesterday, Mets lose a tough game yesterday, 3-2 to the Cincinnati Reds. The good news is that the kid Brandon Sproat pitched terrific, and this is what is going to save this team. They're 9 games over 500. I didn't hit yesterday. They only had 2 hits off this guy Green, who pitched great. Only 1 hit off Green, and that was a solo home run by Brett Beatty. They did have a chance in the 9th inning. Juan Soto, off their closer, hit a home run, his 38th of the year. They had a shot. They had first and second with 1 out after that, and unfortunately, Starling Marte hit into a double play to end the game. So the Mets lose 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati. Still got a 4-game lead over the Reds in that last wild card, and the Giants. Both of them 4 games behind. The Giants lost 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals this weekend. So the Mets right now, 4-game lead in that final wild card spot over both the Reds and the Giants. And now they go to Philadelphia for a huge 4-game series starting tonight. Nolan McLean, who has been their best pitcher, he's 4-0. He's won all 4 of his starts. He's going to be on the mound tonight in a game the Mets need. I mean, look, they're not going to – they're 7 games behind Philly for the division. Even if they sweep them, they're still going to be 3 behind them here. They're not going to win the division. Forget about that. They got to start hitting again because they didn't hit in these 2 games against the Reds. I mean, even though I thought Tong pitched well, even though he gave up 3 home runs on Saturday, he pitched 6 innings, allowed only those 4 runs. The Mets didn't hit. They only scored 3 runs in the game. Same thing yesterday. Sproat pitched great over 6 innings. But again, they only scored 2 runs, both on solo home runs. This team's got to hit more because the pitching overall, outside of the 3 kids, has not been good. We know the bullpen stinks outside of Diaz. I've had enough of watching Ryan Stanek stink it up. I mean, he's absolutely horrible. I don't know how much there's nobody in this bullpen you got confidence in not named Edwin Diaz. Hemsley's been horrible. Rogers has been okay at best. How about this kid, Drew Gilbert, they gave up for him? He's been killing it for the Giants, of course. Soto's been bad. Stanek stinks. I guess Reed Garrett's back off the IL, pitched yesterday. He didn't give up any runs. But do you have any confidence in him? I don't. Even Brooks Raley, I got no confidence in him either. So the Met bullpen is terrible. And right now, Senga went back to the minors. Give him credit for accepting that demotion to the minor leagues. I don't want to see him pitching again this year. Minaya should be out of the rotation too. The Met rotation going forward should be the 3 kids, McLean, Tong, and Sproat. David Peterson, who's been up and down, but still okay, Peterson. And I would put Tyler McGill back in the rotation. When he's ready to pitch, why not? Why not? He can't be worse than Minaya or Senga have been, right? And even Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes should be back in the bullpen. Clay Holmes never gives you more than 5 innings. Isn't it time to put him back in the bullpen where he belongs? I mean, that's my feeling on it. He really should be. So, that's my feeling on the state of the Mets right now. There's 19 games left. They were not out of the woods yet. They're not out of the woods yet. So, and it doesn't get easy here with these 4 games in Philly. They come home after that. I forget who they play over the weekend at home. But, this team's got to start. They got to continue to hit like they have hit recently. Soto started to hit. Soto all of a sudden has put himself, and he's not going to win the MVP. They're going to give it to Ohtani. You know that. I mean, Ohtani's it's like the old days with Trout. Just give it to Trout, even though his team stinks. Ohtani's going to get the MVP in the National League. Cal Raleigh should get it in the American League. I don't think there's any doubt about it with the year he's had. But from Seattle, the catcher. But, Soto, now he's got 38 homers, 93 RBIs. He's got well over 100 walks. He's got like 117 walks. He scored over 100 runs. His OPS, everybody gets nuts about that, is like well over 900 now. He's having an MVP caliber year. He's hitting at the right time. He's starting to hit at the right time for this team. We need Alonso to get hot again. Nimmo's been hitting well. He's really started to hit well. Vientos has been hot. Beatty's been hitting well. He hit a home run yesterday. He's got 16 home runs now. They have to continue to hit. Lindor's been red hot. They got to continue to hit. They steal bases left and right, although Lindor had a bad day on the bases on Saturday. Like I said, I didn't see a lot of the game yesterday because I was in and out watching the Jet game, but which was a crazy day in New York yesterday, as you had all these games, everybody going on. If you're a Jet fan, you had the Jets and the Mets because you're probably a Met fan. If you're a Giant fan, you have the Giants and the Yankees because you're probably a Giant and Yankee fan. There are people that are not, but that's pretty much the way it usually plays out. But Mets need to get it going tonight. McClain on the mound. I'm not sure who's pitching for Philly, but we'll see what happens going forward. From here, the Monday night game tonight, you got the Vikings and the Bears. I believe that game's in Chicago. So we'll see. You got 2 young quarterbacks starting. J.J. McCarthy from Minnesota making his debut, and Caleb Williams now in his second year as a member of the Chicago Bears. And, of course, the what's his name? The guy who was the offensive coordinator, I can't think of his name right now, from the Lions. He's the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. So we'll see what happens with the Monday Night Football tonight. But, of course, you got the Mets tonight. Not sure what the Yankees are doing tonight. They play the Tigers. I know the next 2 series are the Tigers, and then they go to Fenway to play the Red Sox in a big series after that. So Yankees with the win yesterday over Toronto. They took 2 out of 3 from the Blue Jays at the stadium. Only 2 games behind them now as far as the American League East is concerned. So they are closing in on maybe winning that division. And one thing the Yankees have that the Mets don't have, they got a couple of veteran starters in Fried and Rodin that you got to be happy about. And, of course, like I said, right now, the Mets' 3 best starting pitchers are the 3 kids. They've all looked pretty good. And thank God they brought them up. I mean, and hopefully, this is the future of this franchise is going to be McClain, Tong, and Sproat. And, maybe one day we'll look at them like Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz. We can only, hope that's the case. We'll see as we go forward. That would be nice, right? That would be nice, Met fans, if we could do that. But how about we start to hit again, and let's go and let's get something done. Let's get at least 3 out of 4 here in Philadelphia. Certainly minimum 2-2. Not sure who the Reds are playing. Not sure who the Giants are playing. But the Mets got to take care of business, going forward here. No doubt about that. Absolutely have to take care of business going forward. So we'll see where we go. But that's the deal. I am off to play in an outing now. I'm playing in an outing here with a lot of New York radio people. I'm hearing Mark Gastineau might actually make an appearance at this later on today at the beautiful Arcola Country Club in really the town I call my hometown, Paramus, New Jersey. So should be good. Should be very interesting. We'll see how it all plays out when all is said and done. Check me out tomorrow. We will not be doing the show today with Evan because of the outing I'm doing We'll be doing that tomorrow, right around the 5 o'clock hour, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, in that range. We'll probably do a show. We'll do the show tomorrow with Jake Asman as well. 10 o'clock on Jake's show. We'll break down the stuff with the Jets. So we'll see where we go from here. But at least we saw positive signs yesterday.
I think you said J.J. Watt instead of T.J.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Did I say J.J.? Speaking of J.J. Watt, he did the game yesterday with Iron.
Yeah.
You know, what happened to Charles Davis? Charles Davis and Iron were really good. They took him away for J.J. Watt? He was okay. Here's the problem now. You got to be a former player. I know Davis played too, but you got to be a former player now to be a color man. But we did get Iron doing the game yesterday. He's the best, and there's nobody better. Iron Eagle, the premier announcer in the United States right now, as far as I'm concerned. But maybe I said TJ instead of JJ, whatever.
No,
JJ was in the booth. Okay. JJ was in the booth. TJ was on the field for the Steelers. So there you go, as far as yesterday's game. But everybody enjoy your day. Enjoy the football tonight if you're going to be watching the Viking-Bear game. Obviously, the Mets tonight. Let's go, Mets. Need to win tonight. Let's go. We got to get something. We lost 2 out of 3. So far, 3-3 on this road trip. 2 out of 3 in Detroit. Lose 2 out of 3 in Cincinnati. Still got that 4-game lead in the wild card over both the Giants and the Reds. So let's go, Mets. Let's go, Jets. I'll be back again Friday. By the way, I went 0-3 in my picks. Why not? I had the Jets. I picked the Steelers laying 3. Of course, they didn't cover. I had the Giants. They didn't cover as they were getting 6. And I picked the Patriots laying 2.5 against the Raiders, and they lost. So a wonderful 0-3 start as far as the picks for Benigno. What a freaking surprise. Oh, yeah. All the love, everybody. God bless America. Check me out tomorrow with Evan and Tiki and the podcast coming up on Friday. See you then.